Welcome to American Dreams, Keys to Success, with your host, Alan Olson.
Welcome back. I'm with Joan LeMahieu here, currently the director at City Beach. Joan, welcome to today's show.
Thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Joan, can you tell me about yourself?
Well, that's a wide open question. I grew up in an immigrant family on a small farm in British Columbia. And I was so fortunate, we talked a little bit about mentors before we started the show today. And I've got to say my mother was my first mentor. Although she had a 7th grade education in the Netherlands, she sat my sister and I down when we were 6 or 7 years old and said, you girls can go to college. Well, she hadn't even been to high school. And unbeknownst to me, she and my dad, on very, very limited funds, were supporting a couple of their brothers and sisters as they pursued their careers in college. So I immediately decided I was going to be a school teacher. And my sister decided she was going to be a nurse. I mean, what else are you going to do in the late 50s, early 60s with, role models of women in teaching and nursing positions? So I announced to my 2nd grade teacher the very next day that I was going to be a teacher. And she was sitting in her blue dress on the piano bench, and she just about fell off the piano bench, I swear, because I was actually getting an X in behavior, which is somewhere below U for unsatisfactory. And I'm sure she thought I was heading for a juvenile hall instead of to be a teacher. But that little dream actually propelled me through grade school and through high school, when actually, a number of my friends were dropping out of high school, very, very blue collar growing up. And it propelled me through high school and propelled me to make a decision to go to a small college affiliated with our church in Iowa. As I read in one of our church bulletins that they had a 98% placement rate for teachers. And I thought, well, that means that I'll get a job when I get out of there. So I went to a small college. I graduated and I taught for 1 year, 26 darling 4th graders. And I tell my friends, God bless every child whose life I have not touched in the last 35 years. So I taught for 1 year and then really went back to, I think, to the business world. I had helped my dad with the business on the family farm. I worked a lot of hours in a local bank to help fund my way through college. And I really enjoyed the business side of life. And so I married a gentleman who lived here in California and decided just to start working temporary jobs and figure out what it was that I would enjoy doing. And I landed in human resources for 9 years and decided that, it wasn't enough really business. I really liked the whole earning money, figuring out the expenses, figuring out the revenues, and really running a business rather than just advising a business. So I was working for a local government at the time, and they needed someone to manage the convention center and 2 performing arts theaters, and I jumped at the chance to do that. And it really was very fortunate because I was in a city called Visalia, which was at that point in time known as one of the most entrepreneurial cities in America. And I was given full reign, really, to manage those businesses. And then I went on to open a Frank Lloyd Wright designed community and convention center in Madison, Wisconsin. You might say, well, how in the world did you open that when Mr. Wright's been dead for 40 years? Well, he had designed it in the 30s, redesigned it 8 times. And Madison, Wisconsin's a little bit like Berkeley of the Midwest. We talk a lot about things. We discuss. It's lots of votes went back and forth, and the community finally voted to build the center in the early 90s. Highly controversial, passed by less than 1% of the vote. We had, and I was hired 14 months before we opened. We had programmed the building for 350 events, and the first year we had 1,058 events.
Wow.
So, yeah, wow is right. So that was a tremendous learning experience. And, we're going to talk a little bit about team building today. It really was an amazing group of team leaders that I had on staff that were able to ramp up from plans. And of course, the city was watching us and the community was watching us very carefully to make sure we weren't making any missteps. And, that team really, really rallied. And it was because we brought in, frankly, team builders. We did a lot of team building amongst the group themselves, and they created really magic for the city of Madison. And that center still is a major economic driver for Madison and was the stimulus for recreating their downtown. They are now building a second, third hotel downtown, third actually hotel since that. And the downtown has become completely revitalized, which really is exciting when you think that you have a little bitty piece of making a community a better place to live, making it more economically viable. And so I'm kind of proud of that one.
I'm visiting here today with Joan LeMahieu. She is Executive Director at City Beach, and we just been discussing her background, how she got in the career of team building. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the hiring the right people for your organization and how do you go about that. We'll be right back after these messages.
With current laws, we have left our children an enormous financial burden. Even though they may be too young to understand it. At GROCO, we care about you and the ones you love, and the quality of your and their lives. Call us today to see how we can help. 877-CPA-2006.
GROCO, helping you along the way.
Apple pie, baseball, and now here's All-American Alan Olson.
Welcome back. I'm visiting here today with Joan LeMahieu, the director of City Beach, with locations in Fremont and Santa Clara. And Joan, I want to come back and focus on your days and your experience in the HR world. How do you know if you're hiring the right people for your organization?
Well, that is a very complex question. One needs to look at what the current team is comprised of, the skills and needs of the current team. I think you look at a combination of a person's technical skills as well as the fit within the organization, their management philosophy, their leadership philosophy, whether there's a fit. I mean, you can certainly have people that are fantastically technically inclined but will not fit into the organization. And of course, I'm speaking about hospitality organizations. It could be very different in high tech or an engineering firm or an R&D firm. But when one is looking in the hospitality industry, it's all about being able to connect with people, to welcome people into your venue, and to create the systems and products that are very people-oriented.
So do you go through a process of in your screening process, a checklist or a scoring system, or how do you go about? You'll get 50 resumes over the internet. Email today is so convenient for people to just kick the resumes in. How do you score these resumes, or do you?
Well, at City Beach, because we are a small business, we basically do it by hand. We review each of the resumes and we really put them in, the literally the three stacks, the ones that look most promising, medium-ish, and then ones that just do not have the qualifications. And I'd like to say that we do some sophisticated testing. We do not at City Beach, as most small businesses do not. Those kinds of tests need to be they need to be well vetted, and you also need to have a great nexus between what the job is and what the test is, and often that takes a lot more sophisticated measurement tools than what is available to a small business. But I've been involved in larger businesses where absolutely we did, personality assessment instruments, and again, it was more scientifically geared to the position.
You end up hiring the right person for the wrong position sometimes?
That's been done, yes. And if you can shift the person around in the business, that's a good thing to do. And sometimes you just need to say, you know what, I made the wrong decision. Let's be really, really clear. Let's be humane. Let's be kind. Whenever you have to let someone go, they have to go home to their family and talk with their family about it. And you want to make sure that they leave with their ego intact and with hope that there's something better for them in the future. And so I think the outbound counseling is huge when you make a mistake. And I think owning up to mistake is important rather than blaming the person who you've brought in.
So what do you recommend that a company do when looking to fill a position in an organization with the right individual?
I think you have to have a clear set of skills, a clear set of what it is that your expectations are. What is the job description? What are the skills, knowledge, and abilities that you're looking for? Have that very clearly set. And then work with the rest of the team when you're doing your interviewing process. Different people on the team will see different aspects of a person, and then pulling that together and making a group decision is hugely important. And don't ever, in my opinion, forget what the front desk person's opinion is of the candidate. As they walk in the door, how do they treat that front desk person? How do they react in the environment when they think they're not on stage? Some powerful observations have been made, and I've, I think made the right decision by not hiring someone because of the way they treated the front desk.
I'm visiting here today with Joan LeMahieu. She's Executive Director at City Beach. And, Joan, we need to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about team building. We'll be right back after these messages.
He's the world's most trustworthy man. Tax filing deadlines are scheduled around his vacation calendar. The IRS agent who audited his client apologized.
I don't always advise people on their taxes, but when I do, I save them every penny legally possible.
GROCO CPAs and Advisors.
Come to GROCO and stay wealthy, my friend.
Apple pie, baseball, and now here's All-American Alan Olson.
Welcome back. I'm visiting here today with Joan LeMahieu, the Executive Director at City Beach, with locations in Fremont and Santa Clara. Now, Joan, I understand that at City Beach, you offer team building skills to organizations. How did that come about?
Well, organizations, in order to be most effective, the people really need to work together. And so we have a fantastic sports entertainment venue at City Beach. We really focus on person-to-person interaction in all of our games and activities. And so it was a natural really to create team building experiences for corporations. We do over 350 team building events every year for corporations in the Bay Area.
Why are team building activities important for a company?
Well, I go back to the days when I was asked to head up the opening of Ford Field, home for the Detroit Lions, hired 14 months before we opened and had to build a team right from scratch. And if you don't spend time together outside of the work environment, either in facilitated activities or more fun and play, I think it makes a team less effective. And so we did a lot of that at Ford Field, bringing people together in small groups and doing some team building, working with a facilitator, working on our communication skills, change management skills. And then, when the time gets tough, because you go through stressful times as a team, you can always sort of come back to what it was like when you were more relaxed and having a good time with that person. And I think you then give your teammates a little bit more leeway as you work through to get the job done.
At City Beach, when you talk about 350 activities, it's quite a number. But give me some idea of what are some of these activities that you refer to?
Well, it can be anything as fun as doing an extreme chef exercise together. We take a group and we break them into 3 or 4 small groups. We give them chef hats and chef aprons and a lot of food and a stove to work on, and they get to create a meal for each other, and they get to judge each other's meals, and we'll do it for creativity, for taste, for innovation, and it's another way of just getting together and having some fun. Or we have some more technical team building training. We have a high ropes course, a low ropes course, and you actually spend time talking about communication teamwork, trust, depending on each other as you climb up 30 feet above the floor and help each other across a thin steel cable. I mean, it sounds almost impossible, but really, it's about trust, it's about teamwork, it's about communication, and you can make amazing things happen.
Sounds like you got a lot of fun in that facility.
We do. And, sometimes teams just need to just sort of kick back and enjoy each other. And so there are a lot of games that they can do, either facilitated by our professional facilitators. They can just come on in and hang out and play pool, play ping pong, badminton, dodgeball, volleyball, basketball. There's just bocce. There's just a great variety of things to do. Or if they just want to come out and hang out and have a beer on the patio, that's another option.
Now, what's the typical size of the group that you have there?
We really do a wide variety of groups, anywhere from 12 to, I'm going to say 300 or 400. And we've actually had, 1,200, but you asked for a typical size, so it's about 12 to 300, although we can certainly do larger groups and have.
When people come to you, do you notice a change of before and after when they do these activities? Or?
People keep coming back to us. We have many companies that return, sometimes every month with different groups. That tells us that indeed our team building is effective. We don't have the luxury of being in the workplace before the team building happens and in the workplace afterwards. Certainly the anecdotal stories tell us that it is effective, it makes a difference, and the fact that we have so many people that come back over and over and again, year after year, tells us that it makes a difference.
So for a company coming down, how much time should they schedule?
You could schedule anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, and some people come for an entire day. Some people do 2 or 3 days. It depends on how much diagnostic work they want to do on site and how deep they want to get, and we can do a wide variety. I would say the average is probably a 4 to 5 hour event.
When we look at the organizations, obviously every organizations are made up of different people, different personalities, and trying to get people unified, not always easy. But how do you encourage cooperation and collaboration among employees in an organization?
Well, at City Beach, we spend time with our clients before the event. We ask them questions about what it is that they would like to accomplish. And if the issue is, we're just exhausted, we're getting at each other's throats because we're all just so tired and we haven't had time to spend together to enjoy each other, then we'll do a lighthearted, fun activity. If it's more like, we're heading into this R&D project and we really have to get to know each other and trust each other and learn how to work together, or we're going to be doing a massive project together, then we'll design a different exercise for them. We'll design maybe a series of 3 or 4 exercises. One might be to encourage trust. One might be to encourage different ways of communication. I mean, it's well-known fact that communication amongst teams is the number one criteria for success. You can have teams with an enormous amount of individual talent, but if there isn't great communication amongst the group, the team is not as effective as they can be.
Now, Joan, individuals that are interested in bringing their companies down to City Beach, how do they contact you? What's the process?
So people may reach us either by going onto our website at citybeach.com or calling us at 510-651-2500.
That's 510-651-2500 at City Beach.
We have events every Saturday for the family called Family Fun Night. And we are open 7 days a week for lunch and for dinner. A great opportunity to hang out on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, play a little bocce out in our courtyard. It's just really a lovely space.
I've been visiting here today with Joan LeMahieu, as Executive Director of City Beach. Joan, thank you for being on today's show.
Thank you, Alan.
We'll be right back after these messages.
You're listening to American Dreams with Alan Olson on AM 1220 KDOW.